Huntress number 6, the end of the miniseries, written by Paul Levitz and Marcus Toe. Last issue we left off with her killing the dictator guy who was, awful the entire way through. And this issue kind of just feels like an epilogue, for lack of a better word. It's just kind of winding down the story, and it doesn't quite feel as big as the last one. But regardless, we open up on the son of the man who was killed in the last issue. And he is outraged that his father has been murdered. And he's talking to an Italian ambassador who is supposed to be the one keeping him safe. But the ambassador just starts making excuses of like, he surrounded himself with Moretti. And he's like, Moretti? Are you kidding me? This is all of that superhero's fault, that woman. And she's going to come after more and more people. What do we have on her? And the ambassador pulls out all these files of pictures they took on her, including some in her civilian gear. And they're like, oh, well, we'll get her soon, sir. We'll soon have an arrest. And he's like, arrest? I don't want her arrested. I want her killed. I'm putting a bounty on her head. Get the word out. 1 billion euros for whoever kills this woman. And so then we cut over to Helena. She's just driving down the road, not a care in the world. And she gets to a police checkpoint ahead. And obviously they're looking for her, and she's not willing to stick around to get caught, even if she doesn't know why they're looking for her. So she gets out of her car, but the moment she does, the police start storming up to her. She fights them off and uses her belt to zip line down a power line down to a nearby dock where she steals some guy's boat and drives away. And she immediately calls up her reporter friend who's like, hey, so Huntress, whoever that may be, has a €1 billion bounty on her head, and maybe we shouldn't be talking on phones that might be tapped by the NSA because that's kind of a big deal. And she's like, yeah, all right, I get it. Who do you know who did this? And he reveals that it's Hassan, the son of the man. And she's like, oh, well, that is interesting. I guess I'll take care of this. Click. And then we cut to later on that night where she's describing how breaking into a fortress is... Every fortress has a weak spot. If you know where to look. For instance, Hassan's fortress was built with the assumption that nobody would dare climb up a many 100-foot sheer cliff rock face in order to get to it. And yet here's Huntress doing that thing. And as she gets up to the top, there are a couple of sewage grates that she says, it's like, okay, well, one of you got to leave me inside. She reaches one that is literal actual sewage, and she's like, nope, let's try again. And then she gets to a second one that is a rainwater drain, maybe even some pool chlorine. So she jumps into that one. And we cut to a couple of guards who are walking around a pool just like, man, what are we... just wasting time out here. No one's going to try to break into this place. And as one of them looks over into the pool, Huntress just jumps out and grabs him. And we can presume a giant fight scene happened afterwards, but we don't get to see that because we cut to the next morning as Hassan wakes up. He takes off his sleep mask, and Huntress is just sitting there in his room with a crossbow trained at him. And Hassan immediately is like, you killed my father, a noble man. He's like, your father was a dickweed who imprisoned women and tortured them. Shut up. And immediately Hassan drops it. He's like, I'm not my father. Please don't kill me for his sins. I can drop the bounty. I can free the women. Just name it. Just spare my life. And she's like, okay, here's the deal. You are going to free all of the women. Anybody who's ever been involved in your trafficking, you are going to get them free. Additionally, you're never going to traffic ever again. If I find out you have, I will come back here and kill you. However, you can go ahead and keep the bounty on my head. Keeps things interesting for me. But if nobody's cashed it in a year, I want you to take $2 billion and donate it all to an abused women charity. Okay? Cool? And if you don't, remember, I'll kill you. And then she jumps out the window, and that is literally the last we see of it. Then we pick up at a airport where I guess she's being spotted, and she's on the run from a bunch of security guards. And they're shooting at her, and she's running away, and she's like, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't have kept that bounty on me, but nah, it keeps things fun. And as she's running across one of the rooftops of the airport, the door flings open, and who's standing in the doorway but Karen Starr, a.k.a. Power Girl? And she's like, hey, I've been over in Mr. Terrific for like 3 issues. Now I'm here. And she grabs Huntress, and they both fly off to a private jet. And then they say, well, we've both been busy, haven't we, partner? And then there's a little thing at the bottom that says, join us for World's Finest. which I guess is going to be the follow-up series to this book, which I don't know when that's coming out. Like I said, this feels more like an epilogue than it does an actual continuation of the story, because going from the chairman with his multiple guards and a safe room and all this cool like attack on like a vault sort of story, that felt like a big climax. And this one just felt like, all right, well, we're just gonna we left a loose thread with the sun, so now we're just gonna deal with that now. It kind of feels like a step down, which sucks in terms of it being the last issue, but hey, if they had to do 6 issues, then okay, they had to do 6 issues. I like the reveal at the end. I think that's a decent way to say like, oh, did you like Huntress? There will be more coming ahead, rather than just being some amorphous like, they'll show up eventually, maybe. Who knows? So overall, for this specific issue, ignoring the miniseries as a whole, I'd have to probably give this one a 6, because again, it dips down in the stakes built up from the last issue, but I do still like it. It's just not a punchy enough ending, you know? The ending is literally just, okay, don't do bad things, bye, and that's it. So it's just kind of just like, all right, we could have had more, but I can't hold it that much against it because it's still a decent ending. So 6 for this, and overall a decent miniseries. If you're interested in Huntress at all, I'd say give it a check. It's a decent enough read, and it's a story that focuses solely on her. So yeah, pretty good.